Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we talk with K-State livestock economist Glynn about what the numbers are telling us about the impact of COVID-19 up till now. We also have features from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, and our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
And agricultural news from agview.net. Early reports of this year's winter wheat harvest in Kansas are showing above average yields in portions of the south central. But in the far southwest, what didn't get hailed out earlier this spring fell victim to lack of rainfall. But many are hopeful, even though the harvest may not bring in the bushels of last year, the quality and test weight in many areas could make it a good one. Well, USDA has processed more than 220,000 coronavirus food assistance program payments to farmers and ranchers. In an update, USDA data showed the department had issued $2.8 billion to farmers so far. Iowa producers received the most, $144 million for row crops, $150 million for livestock. Iowa also accounts for the highest number of non-specialty crop applications of more than 20,000. Well, USDA says some 112,000 non-specialty crop producers nationally have received more than $750 million, while roughly 1,500 specialty crop growers have received $53 million. Now, payments to livestock producers have totaled $1.4 billion, and payments to the dairy sector, $667 million. The Coronavirus Food Assistance Program does provide financial assistance to producers of agriculture commodities with financial support that gives them the ability to absorb some sales losses and increase marketing costs associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. USDA says they will continue to accept applications for the program through August 28th. Resources for farmers regarding these available online, farmers.gov/CFAP. Well, staying at home means snacking more for Americans. Amid orders to shelter in place, many Americans have turned to snacking for comfort. A new survey was conducted in May by a partnership with California Walnuts and Kelton Global that explored the snacking behaviors of Americans and how they've changed since the shelter-in-place mandates were implemented. Well, about 1 in 2 Americans, 48%, confess that they are snacking more than even the pandemic began. 2 in 5, or 40% of those, expect to see behavior continue even after the shelter-in-place mandate. And USDA announcing changes to the Livestock Risk Protection Insurance Program for feeder cattle, fed cattle, and swine. It'll start this summer. USDA's Risk Management Agency says changes include moving premium due dates to the end of the endorsement period and increasing premium subsidies to assist producers. RMA Administrator Martin Barbary said the changes will make the policies more usable and affordable for livestock producers. Specifically, he says the changes allow premiums to be paid at the end of the endorsement period, putting it in line with other policies. You can find more information on these and other stories online, agview.net. Stay with us. We'll have more in just a moment.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Buy them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
And joining us now, Dr. Glynn Tonzer, a ag economist, a beef livestock economist, actually kind of a specialist at K-State. And we wanted to bring him back as a few weeks ago we kind of talked as we were learning more. Now we even know more. And Dr. Tonzer, you and your colleagues have done a lot of analysis on the impact that COVID-19 has had on the protein sector. What were some of your findings, at least as we know it right now?
Yeah, and I'll start very broad in answering that question, and we can do a deep dive into specific versions on the kind of the back end of this. But I think it's important to do a quick timeline of the major shocks that drives these impacts, and then we can get into the numbers. It seems like a long time ago for most of us, but I'll remind us the first shock was in the month of March. We started shutting down states. So that's when the stay-at-home type orders across the country at different points of time came in place. The relevance of that for the protein space was we had a big shift in our food consumption patterns. So we started consuming our food largely at home. So demand for food through grocery stores and the retail channel was boosted. Meanwhile, demand for food through restaurants and food service declined. In the protein space, that's really important because not all beef, not all pork, not all chicken is equal. We don't send each product equally through the different market channels. I use high-end steak as an example that's more prevalent through white tablecloth sit-down restaurants as a percentage of the volume we normally consume. And conversely, ground beef is something that consumers are a little more comfortable preparing at home, personal ingredient. On the pork space, bacon, 2/3 of it normally is consumed in the food service channel, 1/3 at home. Those kind of not 50-50 realities threw a lot of shocks in the protein system just because we started staying at home. So that's largely the effects that occurred in March and the first half of April, let's say. But as April progressed, then the bottleneck in the industry developed. And this is where the general public took even greater note of the livestock and meat industry. And the bottleneck was our challenges in harvesting animals and converting them into edible meat products. So taking cattle and hogs, running them through processing and packing facilities, and producing a whole suite of beef and pork products became more of a challenge. A number that gives real context to this was the last week of April. Both species were running about 40% below the same period the year earlier. So a real simple way to think about this is we were running about 60% of our desired capacity, and both industries entered the year with lots of animals. We entered into this whole story planning to produce a lot of protein. So a backlog of animals very quickly developed, lots of discussion around euthanization, backing them up in feedlots, lots of that commentary. And meanwhile, lots of commentary on the volume and variety mix of meat products that consumers had available was changing pretty quick. So through the month of May, the term of quote unquote shortage was floating around, and I was doing my best to put context on the shortage can be misleading because there's no shortage of animals. Our ability to produce protein has been temporarily hit largely in the month of May, and we've had a lot of improvements since then. Time Magazine and the like took note of this, just to give some context. The general public took note of this. It was no longer just a livestock producer and packer processor interchain discussion. All of society took note of the changes that happened to our meat production system. Those are the two big shocks that happened, and they're not small shocks. Each of them have major effects on the meat and livestock markets. And at the end of the day, just before we get buried in numbers, is those collectively depressed livestock prices and elevated wholesale meat prices. And we're still seeing higher retail prices follow after that, but we're already seeing lower wholesale prices. And I could break that down more if we need to. But some of the massive shocks that were already in play have worked their way through the marketplace for the most part in the wholesale meat place. And we're still seeing some of that ebb towards the consumer.
Dr. Glynn Tonzer, K-State beef ag economist, is our guest. Let's take a break. We'll come back with more in just a moment.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn. For livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
And our guest is Dr. Glynn Tonzer, a beef livestock economist at Kansas State. And Glenn, as most people are aware of, a few weeks ago, those high prices, we were seeing on the box beef cutout values, and the margin from what a producer was receiving to what the packer margin was over the last now several days. We have seen those go down anywhere from 8, 10, 15, some days almost $20 decline. Are we slowly or very kind of making big leaps to get back to what we normally would expect?
So I'll speak specifically to the wholesale beef values. Talking about margins in the industry is a different discussion, and we can do that at length or find my webinars on that on agmanager.info. But the wholesale beef market has certainly been quote unquote volatile. So we were a little over $200 for choice beef cutout back in the middle of March, and we got all the way up to $470 and change here about the middle of May. And then sitting here talking to you now, we're the 10th, 11th of June, that period, not too many weeks later, we're at about $240. So large increase from March to May and a very quick decline from the middle of May to the middle of June. And direction-wise, that is not surprising to analysts like me. So again, 40% reduction in the ability to harvest cattle and produce beef at the end of April, and more generally just a backlog throughout the month of April and May developing, hammered our ability to produce beef products. Meanwhile, some particular products, especially on the ground channel throughout April and May, were in high demand by consumers. All the discussion about hoarding and so forth. So you had a demand pull and a supply constraint, both pulling up that price. And then add to it more recently, let's say on the second half of May and as we go into June, more and more restaurants across this country are trying to open up, which is a really good story because food service activity is starting to pick up. I hope that continues, but that's yet another new source of demand for those products. So it's really important to appreciate their supply and demand components to that whipsawing of the choice beef cutout. But to answer your question, paraphrase it, we had a big run up and we pulled most of it back down. We're within $30 of where we were in the middle of March on the choice beef cutout.
Dr. Glynn Tonzer, a K-State livestock economist, has joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn. For livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
So my name is Ignacio Ciampiti. I'm associate professor at Kansas State University and Department of Agronomy, farming system specialist. Specifically today I will be discussing a little bit about corn research and how this new COVID situation is affecting our research. So far we have been able to continue in a limited base our research and information that we are providing to corn farmers based on sponsoring checkoff dollars coming from Kansas Corn is essential and is mission critical for our farmers. A few things that you will see on our social media, if you go to KSU Crops, you will find that we'll be out of across the state looking at the effect of tillering. We are still in the second year looking at the importance of tillering. So that's a very exciting project. We have multiple locations in central and western Kansas as another component to try to understand what is the effect of soybeans and before corn, and trying to understand the rotation and the systems and how much is impacting corn. And one of the last exciting news is also that we are continuing a project in collaboration also with Corteva and Kansas Corn, looking at new hybrids and trying to understand hybrids so they are more efficient on using natural. I will say for all updates, please be sure to look at the website in our agronomy department, and you will find there our e-updates. So our e-updates are coming out every Friday. So every updated information about corn progress across the state and any other topics will be there. So thanks for listening and have a great rest of the summer.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Carolyn Quillen grew up working on her family farm. Now she and her husband Dave have taken over and operate the fourth-generation farm together. Thorpe Farm Ranch grows dryland wheat and corn on 5,000 acres, in addition to running cattle on 4,000 acres of pasture. Carolyn and Dave are very active in the Seward County Farm Bureau, serving as president and vice president. The couple participates in county legislative coffee meetings and helps with educational after-school programs. Carolyn is also on KFB's Membership and Promotions Committee. Both have attended the American Farm Bureau annual meeting in Nashville. In their community, the couple are members of the Plains Friends Church and have been Sunday school teachers. They are also members of Friends of the Library and Resource Conservation and Development Council. The Quillens strive to achieve mutual satisfaction for every farmer in each field and continue to make their crop healthier so they can truly feed the world.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families and rural Kansas for more than 100 years, and we're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau health plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Faculty in the Kansas State University Department of Grain Science and Industry and Kansas wheat farmers are working together to donate wheat flour to people in need. According to Department Head Dr. Gordon Smith, the K-State president approved a plan from the department to manufacture and donate flour to our local and extended communities. Thanks to their support, the generosity of Kansas wheat farmers and the Kansas Wheat Commission, that mill run occurred the week of June 8th with a socially distanced skeleton crew of grain science milling faculty, including myself, Smith said. On June 18th, this flour was distributed directly to people in need in the parking lot of the Hal Ross Flour Mill, and the remainder was donated to local and state food banks. Kansas Wheat CEO Justin Gilpin says wheat farmers were glad to help support this project. Wheat is a staple food for many Americans, and this project by K-State helps put it in the hands of people in need. He continued, the Kansas Wheat Innovation Center is home to the Kansas Wheat Commission, located next door to the Hal Ross Flour Mill on the K-State North Campus. Kansas Wheat Commission and K-State Department of Grain Science and Industry have a long history of working together on projects for the wheat industry, combining stakeholder input with the department's flour milling expertise.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers, farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families in rural Kansas for more than 100 years. We're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau health plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
The Kansas Livestock Foundation has awarded 9 Merck Animal Health cartridges for cash scholarships. 5 students attending the Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine each were given a $1,500 scholarship. Recipients of these stipends included Lauren Hurd of Wichita, daughter of David Hurd and Susan and Russ Bauer; Sarah Kruger from Lebo, daughter of Joyce and Dwight Kruger; Leah Metzger of Towanda, daughter of Bob Metzger and Jill Olson; Jason Payne from Hutchinson, son of David and Colleen Payne; and McKaylee Woodward of St. George, daughter of Jude and Mindy Wilson. 4 undergraduate students attending K-State were awarded $1,000 Merck cartridges for cash scholarships. Tyler Bodorf from Galena will be a senior and is the daughter of Todd and Shelley Bodorf. Zachary Busing of Baileyville is the son of Bruce and Michelle Busing. He will be a senior this fall. Katie Leibarger of Garnett also will be a senior and is the daughter of Dave and Myra Leibarger. Emma McClure from Hugoton is the daughter of Joel and Karen McClure. She will be a junior at K-State in the fall. Cartridges for cash scholarships are funded by Empty Ralgro and Revlor cartridges being turned into Merck representatives, taken to a KLA meeting, or brought to the KLA Convention and Trade Show in Wichita in December. Each cartridge is worth 25 cents.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Good morning. I am Mitch Dewar with Paragon Ag Advisors, a division of KCO ISOM. As we get into the midst of another growing season, we find ourselves amongst poor prices and a potential large supply. As of the June 14th USDA Crop Progress Report, 95% of the crop was emerged. The corn market is around 20 cents off its most recent lows, but has stalled out recently due to the weather and the anticipation of the June 30th USDA planted acreage report. There are multiple interesting storylines developing as we move into what could be a very volatile next month in the corn market. The managed money keeps adding to their near record net short position. Dryness is starting to creep in across a large portion of the corn growing states, with the USDA acreage report looming at the end of the month. Now, for predicting which way all of this is going to move the market, well, your guess is as good as mine. With the facts in front of me, I know we are well off the recent lows, and I'm looking to protect prices before we get into harvest, but still leaving my upside open in case we do rally. If things move against us, we can easily find ourselves with a lot of bushels and even worse prices come harvest. There are no perfect solutions for the situation we are in, but going into this with no plan could be asking for a disaster. If you would like to explore some ways to protect your bushels in operation, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Mitch Dewar with Paragon Ag Advisors.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us by going online at KansasAgReport.net. Like us on Facebook at Kansas Ag Report Television Show. Follow us on Twitter at Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
When your college career begins, you'll have the opportunity to build upon your skills. One of those opportunities could be joining a collegiate Farm Bureau chapter. With programs at 19 2- and 4-year schools around the state, you can't go far without the possibility of joining a chapter. Collegiate Farm Bureau provides opportunities to build your network with other students, connect to leaders and mentors, develop a greater understanding of ag in Kansas and around the United States, share your knowledge with kids, consumers, and elected officials, experience statewide events and conferences, compete in contests to build essential skills and win great prizes, and gain eligibility for scholarships.
It helps you understand Farm Bureau a little bit more.
I got to be involved on the county, collegiate, district, and state levels.
And my favorite part from the program is being involved in the leadership aspect of it and just gaining skills that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Want to learn more? Visit www.kfb.org/collegiate.